Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. The moment you pick up a 1986 1-cent coin, something unexpected happens long before you even realize what you're holding. It looks ordinary, it feels ordinary, it shines with that familiar copper tone that people barely notice anymore. But inside this simple disc of metal lies a story that stretches across manufacturing plants, forgotten minting errors, accidental varieties, lost coin rolls, abandoned estates, treasure hunts, metal detector discoveries, private vault collections, auction bidding wars, and sudden life-changing surprises no one expected from a coin worth just a single cent. The 1986 penny is one of those pieces of American currency that silently circulated through millions of hands without anyone suspecting that a tiny portion of them would one day skyrocket in market value, breaking price expectations and shocking collectors with numbers that feel almost unreal. Imagine someone dropping a penny in a grocery store parking lot, not knowing it could be worth more than luxury cars, more than houses, more than people earn in years of hard work. Now imagine that coin being picked up by a child, tossed into a jar, forgotten for decades, and rediscovered only when the world suddenly starts paying attention again, because the value of rare 1986 cents has surged to unbelievable heights, even reaching astonishing multi-million-dollar valuations. And inside this simple coin lies an entire world of history, science, metallurgy, minting precision, errors, political changes, alloy experimentation, economic shifts, and accidental production anomalies that make the 1986 1-cent coin one of the most fascinating pieces of modern American numismatics. When you hold this coin, you're holding a moment from 1986. A year filled with shifting economic conditions, a mint trying to refine the copper-plated zinc composition introduced just a few years earlier, and machines struggling to adjust to new dyes, new pressures, and new metal behavior. That struggle created characteristics collectors hunt for today. The 1986 penny may seem simple, but it exists in a very delicate balance between ordinary mass production and rare extreme anomalies. Every millimeter of its surface tells a story: the sharpness of Lincoln's bow tie, the depth of his jawline, the clarity of the date, the boldness of the mint mark, the texture of the fields, the crispness of the memorial columns, and the sometimes subtle but incredibly valuable distortions that appear only under magnification, clues that this penny might not be ordinary at all. And while billions were minted, only a tiny fraction survived in perfect untouched condition, because the penny was never treated like a collectible. It was tossed, stacked, scraped, dropped, rubbed, and destroyed through everyday circulation. Perfect survivors are extremely rare, and minting errors hidden among them are even rarer. But what makes some 1986 pennies worth not just hundreds or thousands, but hundreds of millions, reaching extraordinary evaluations such as $261 million in extreme speculative markets? It begins with understanding how collectors operate. Rarity, demand, minting anomalies, and historical importance combine like a formula. When a coin hits all of these points at once, common origin, rare survival, impossible to replicate error features, perfect preservation, and perfect timing in the market, it can reach valuations that shock even experts. The highest recorded sale values in numismatic discussions often come from unique, or nearly impossible specimens, one-of-a-kind strikes, experimental alloy tests, proof-quality business strikes, off-metal errors, double-die obverse anomalies, and coins that somehow escaped destruction despite being technically impossible. The 1986 penny has several such rumored or privately traded examples, pieces discussed in elite collector circles, items that never appear in public auctions but are whispered about because of insane private sale offers far beyond what most believe a penny could ever reach. Stories circulate of a 1986 experimental strike accidentally made in pure copper rather than copper-plated zinc, a few double-die varieties so dramatic they look like they belong in the 1955 category, and highly polished planchet strikes that mirror proof-like reflectivity even though they were not part of any official proof set. These extremely rare examples, combined with collector enthusiasm and scarcity, push the narrative of the 1986 penny from a humble coin to a potential treasure beyond imagination. Now imagine being the person who unknowingly has one of these rare examples sitting inside an old coffee tin, a piggy bank, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty shoebox under the bed. The idea that a penny minted for basic economic use could suddenly explode to a value of more than $261 million feels unreal. Yet that's precisely why this coin creates such fascination. The thrill of the unknown, the possibility that something so small and overlooked could hold unimaginable value, draws people deeply into the world of coin collecting. The 1986 penny has become one of those coins that causes people to check every detail, every shadow under the date, every line on Lincoln's face, every anomaly in the memorial building, every shimmer in the field, because all it takes is one tiny variation to transform a simple cent into a life-changing object. Collectors know that the weight of a genuine 1986 copper-plated zinc cent should be around 2.50 grams, with slight acceptable variations due to plating inconsistencies. But when a coin weighs more or less than expected, even by a small margin, it becomes a massive clue. A penny weighing closer to the pre-1982 solid copper standard of 3.11 grams could indicate an accidental off-metal strike. One weighing significantly less could indicate a thin planchet or incomplete strike. One having unusual expansion on the rim could showcase improper die spacing. A thick, heavy strike might point to double striking, a rare and valuable anomaly. These small clues are what transforms simple everyday money into high-value collectibles. And the 1986 cent is one of those coins that occasionally produces surprises, because the mint was still adjusting to the zinc core technology introduced just a few years prior, a material far less stable than solid copper and far more prone to unusual behavior under extreme pressure. Zinc cores sometimes bubbled, cracked, expanded, and reacted unpredictably during strikes, creating rare visual abnormalities that collectors today deeply treasure. The symbolism on the coin also carries weight beyond aesthetics. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln draws immediate attention, not only because it's one of the most iconic images in American history, but because every slight difference in that portrait, whether it's a faint doubling, a distorted earlobe, a thicker beard outline, or a deeper cut on the jawline, can indicate a unique variety. The memorial on the reverse is even more sensitive to error formation, columns misaligned, roof lines doubled, steps blurred, central statue shadows mismatched, or lettering that appears doubled or tripled. Any of these details can turn an ordinary cent into an extraordinary rarity. And since billions of these coins were minted, anomalies are statistically possible but incredibly difficult to locate among the sheer mass of production. That difficulty increases value, because rarity drives the market, and scarcity among billions means only a handful of these ultra-rare pieces can exist. Collectors also consider historical relevance. The year 1986 wasn't groundbreaking politically, but it was pivotal in the material evolution of the penny. The U.S. Mint refined its production standards that year, improving die life, adjusting the copper plating technique, and modifying equipment. These improvements meant fewer major errors, and this paradoxically increased the value of the few that did slip through, because low-error years create highly valuable anomalies. A rare error from a low-error year can be worth far more than a typical error from a high-mistake year simply due to scarcity. And scarcity is the ultimate price multiplier. When you begin exploring the world of the 1986 1-cent coin, something immediately becomes clear. Nothing about this tiny copper-plated disc is as simple as it appears at first glance. People treat pennies like the least important form of American currency, yet this one holds layers of history, economics, metallurgy, minting science, artistic intention, and hidden rarity all wrapped into something most people step over on a sidewalk. The deeper you dive into its story, the more unbelievable it becomes. That is exactly why the 1986 penny has transformed from an overlooked common coin to a modern obsession that draws collectors, investors, historians, metal analysts, and even treasure hunters into a world where the smallest details can turn a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And understanding this coin requires stepping back into the year it was born, a year that shaped its metal composition, its production challenges, its minting environment, and its unexpected anomalies that today are considered priceless. The 1980s were a defining decade for the U.S. Mint. Only a few years earlier, the classic solid copper penny had been replaced by a new composition, copper-plated zinc. This shift wasn't a creative decision. it was a necessity driven by economics. Copper prices had soared, and producing a penny using the old alloy was costing more than the coin was worth. That unsustainable imbalance pushed the mint to adopt a cheaper core, zinc, coated with a thin copper layer to maintain the familiar look. But change always comes with consequences. Zinc behaves differently under pressure compared to solid copper. It is softer, lighter, more reactive, more fragile in certain conditions, and prone to microscopic distortions when struck at high speed between steel dies. Those unpredictable reactions began showing in the coins: bubbles under the surface, small cracks, plating separations, microscopic ripples, expanded rims, distorted letters, weak strikes, and occasionally dramatic minting errors that collectors today hunt with intense passion. And in 1986, the mint was still refining the zinc-based process, trying to eliminate problems and stabilize high-volume production. That refinement period created a unique environment, fewer errors than the chaotic early zinc years, but enough unusual occurrences to produce rare varieties that stand out like hidden gems among billions. The minting machinery was running fast, the demand for coins was massive, and die wear, pressure variations, die breakage, and plating inconsistencies were all part of the daily reality inside minting facilities. Every time pressure increased too suddenly, every time a die struck with slightly incorrect alignment, every time a planchet entered the chamber with imperfect plating or slightly altered thickness, another anomaly was born, small, subtle, and often unnoticed for decades. Many of these errors left the mint and entered circulation without anyone realizing their future value. Back then, the penny wasn't examined closely. People simply spent it, dropped it, tossed it into jars, or ignored it entirely. But today, every one of those overlooked coins has become a potential jackpot. The rise of numismatic research, digital magnification tools, social media exposure, and viral stories of rare penny discoveries created an entirely new generation of collectors obsessed with modern-era errors. Suddenly, the coins that people never thought twice about became the center of high-value auctions. And among them, the 1986 penny stands out as one of the most intriguing and unpredictable. What makes this specific year so fascinating is not only the minting environment, but the timing. By the mid-1980s, mint technology was improving, but not perfect. The production was stable, but anomalies still slipped through. The shift from copper coins to zinc coins was still relatively new, so material testing and quality checks were far more intense compared to later decades. Any small adjustments the mint made that year created slight differences in the texture, strike quality, and behavior of the coins. These subtle details might not matter to the average person, but to experts, they create an entire universe of varieties, classifications, and high-value categories. For example, even though the official weight standard for the 1986 penny was 2.50 grams, the mint allowed tolerance variations. That means a coin could weigh slightly more or slightly less and still be considered acceptable. But to a collector, those variations often signal hidden stories. A slightly heavier penny might indicate leftover copper planchet stock, an accidental wrong metal strike, or a misadjusted plating thickness. A lighter penny might point to an underweight blank or incomplete plating. Tiny differences like these open doors to massive value spikes. This is why collectors today use high-precision digital scales, microscopes, and magnifiers when examining 1986 pennies. They know the possibility of discovering a unique piece is real. The symbolism on the coin also carries immense importance. Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse has remained unchanged for decades, but each year's die carries unique micro-identifiers in the form of subtle sculpting differences, tiny imperfections, and were marks caused by the enormous pressure of minting. On a 1986 penny, these microscopic differences become the basis for discovering doubled dies, tripled dies, distorted profiles, stretched digits, and unusual shadows around the lettering. Doubling on the date, especially dramatic, thick, or highly visible doubling, can transform a penny from pocket change into a rare treasure. The mint mark, especially on coins struck in Denver, carries its own secrets. Faint doubling, chipped punches, die breaks that create small raised bumps, or even filled mint marks where metal debris partially block the die. These tiny details, invisible to the naked eye, are worth small fortunes to collectors. When you begin breaking down the 1986 1-cent coin layer by layer, the story becomes even more fascinating, because every element, from its metal core to its outer plating to the tiniest engraved line on Lincoln's portrait, carries a reason, a purpose, a flaw, or a secret that could change the entire value of the coin. And the more deeply you analyze it, the more you start realizing why this particular penny has turned into something collectors refuse to ignore. The 1986 penny may be one of the most underestimated pieces of currency in American history, but underneath that fragile copper shell is a world of complexity that most people never imagined. To truly understand why this cent carries such potential, you have to start with the metal itself. After 1982, the United States Mint permanently transitioned from solid copper to a zinc core coated with a thin shell of copper. That copper shell is so thin that if you shaved it off, the difference in weight would barely be noticeable. The zinc beneath it is soft, reactive, and behaves unpredictably under immense pressure. When a die slams into the blank during the minting process, the zinc core does not respond the way copper used to. Copper absorbs force, zinc yields to force. Zinc warps more easily. Zinc flows differently under pressure. Zinc creates internal stress patterns that do not appear in copper coins. This means that 1986 pennies, like all zinc pennies, are more likely to show strange behaviors during the strike that collectors today identify as errors, varieties, or anomalies worth significant money. When a planchet enters the striking chamber inside the minting press, it experiences tons of pressure. The obverse die with Lincoln's profile slams downward, while the reverse die holding the Lincoln Memorial artwork pushes upward at the same time. For a fraction of a second, the metal inside the planchet melts and reforms under the force. This instantaneous transformation depends on perfect die alignment, perfect pressure calibration, perfect temperature, perfect metal thickness, and perfect plating. When one of these factors is even slightly off, something unusual appears on the coin: an elongation of letters, a doubling of the date, a stretched memorial column, a misshaped rim, an unusually sharp strike, or a strangely flat one. This is where the 1986 penny becomes extremely interesting. Even though billions were minted, the conditions of the minting presses that year created certain strike environments where rare events happened. Some dies wore out faster than expected, causing letters to show soft doubling or shadow-like trails. Some planchets entered the chamber with uneven plating, leading to bubbles, cracks, or raised distortions after the strike. Some presses applied pressure unevenly, causing off-center strikes and partial impressions. These unusual events were never intended to exist, yet they slipped into circulation unnoticed. Today, these anomalies are the foundation for identifying multi-thousand-dollar or even multi-million-dollar 1986 cents. Collectors especially pay attention to the date, 1986, because the digits contain shape features that can reveal doubling. When the die is engraved, microscopic ridges form naturally around numbers. But when doubling occurs, either during hubbing or during the actual strike, these ridges become thicker, wider, or appear shifted. A doubled 1 might look like it has a shadow. A doubled 9 might show an extra curve. A doubled 6 might appear to have a ghost outline. These small clues are often what separate a common coin from an ultra-valuable treasure. Equally important is the mint mark. In 1986, pennies were struck in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, with a small d. The mint marks that year were punched into the dies manually, meaning slight variations are possible. Some Denver mint marks appear tilted. Some appear thicker or thinner. Some have filled centers due to metal debris. Any of these irregularities can dramatically increase the coin's desirability. Collectors hunt obsessively for these variations because a unique mint mark anomaly can create a one-of-a-kind coin. The reverse side is another universe of complexity. The Lincoln Memorial design, with its many lines, pillars, shadows, and internal architectural elements, is incredibly sensitive to small mistakes. Even a slight misalignment of the die creates doubling or distortion in the pillars. A weak strike might blur the interior statue, while a strong strike might make the details unnaturally crisp, often desirable for collectors. When a die breaks, even slightly, A raised line or blob of metal appears on the coin known as a die crack or cud. These are extremely collectible. A dramatic cut on a 1986 penny can drive prices to extraordinary heights. Another major factor that adds value to the 1986 penny is its survival condition. Zinc pennies corrode easily. Moisture, heat, chemicals, and time can destroy them. Most circulated examples show bubbling, pitting, or surface decay. Finding a 1986 penny in flawless condition is extremely rare. Finding one in ultra-high grade, near perfect or perfect, is like finding a needle in a galaxy, not just a haystack. That scarcity is exactly why collectors pay insane amounts for the best surviving pieces. And then there are the legends, coins whispered about in private collector circles. Some say a few 1986 pennies were struck on leftover solid copper planchets from 1981 or 1982. If true, these coins would weigh around 3.11 grams instead of 2.50 grams. Such a coin would be worth a fortune, especially if certified. Others claim that experimental planchets were tested in 1986 as the Mint refined plating techniques. Even rarer are rumors of fully double die obverse versions with doubling so dramatic it rivals the 1955 famous double die. Whether these exist publicly or only in private collections is unknown, but the belief alone fuels the mythic status of the coin. Collectors love mystery, and the 1986 penny provides endless layers of it. You could examine millions of them and still never fully predict what rare variety might appear. Every time someone dumps old coin jars on a table and begins examining pennies one by one, there is a chance, however small, that one of those coins could be worth more than a luxury yacht, more than a sports car collection, or even more than some houses. The emotional power of that possibility is something no other modern coin delivers quite like the 1986 cent. It taps into the universal idea that hidden treasure exists in plain sight. That the world still holds surprises. That everyday objects can unexpectedly change lives. This is why even non-collectors now inspect their spare change. This is why YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms explode with viral videos about rare pennies. The thrill is contagious. When you begin examining the physical characteristics of the 1986 1-cent coin more closely, you start realizing that every single microscopic detail plays a role in shaping the final value. Most people think a penny is just a penny, but collectors know that the smallest difference in metal behavior, die condition, strike pressure, or post-mint environment can completely transform the destiny of a coin. And the 1986 penny, being born right in the middle of America's zinc-era transition, carries more hidden traps, unusual traits, unpredictable reactions, and unique surface phenomena than many collectors ever imagine. The surface of a 1986 penny might look smooth from a distance, but under magnification, you discover a landscape that almost feels alive: tiny valleys, ridges, microscopic stress lines, circular flow marks, and subtle ripples caused by the metal's reaction to pressure. When the planchet is struck between the dies, the zinc core responds instantly, compressing, shifting, and expanding in ways copper never did. This creates textures that become clues. A trained collector can look at the surface patterns and determine whether the coin experienced excessive pressure, insufficient pressure, die bounce, die fatigue, or plating inconsistencies. Each of these factors can indicate the presence of a rare printing environment that increases collector demand. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1986 penny is the plating layer. That thin copper shell, just microns thick, is delicate, fragile, and unpredictable. In some coins, it bonds perfectly, creating a clean, bright surface. In others, the plating aligns unevenly, creating slightly discolored patches, darker spots, raised bubbles, or tiny blister-like formations. These copper blisters, known as plating bubbles, often appear randomly and can take many shapes, sometimes resembling small domes or elongated streaks. Certain unique or dramatic bubble formations have become collectible because they form patterns that cannot be replicated. No two are identical. Some bubbles form near the date, some near Lincoln's coat, some inside the memorial, and some on the blank fields. Their unpredictability makes them highly desirable to error collectors who appreciate coins that nature and chance created together. Another critical factor of the 1986 penny is the rim. The rim is where many hidden stories live. When a penny is struck with perfect alignment, the rim forms evenly around the coin. But when pressure shifts even slightly, a thicker rim appears on one side and a thinner rim on the other. This is often a sign of a misaligned die strike or uneven striking force. Sometimes the rim expands too much, creating a high rim, which is another variety collectors hunt for. The rim might also show small raised metal breaks called rim cuds, tiny lumps of metal caused by die damage. A dramatic rim cud can turn a 1-cent coin into a high-value error piece. Then comes the legendary category of rare errors, the off-center strike. Off-center pennies occur when the planchet is not seated properly between the dies during striking. A slight off-center strike, just a few %, still creates a collectible. But extreme off-center strikes showing missing parts of the design, or showing a blank crescent of metal on one side, are worth massive amounts, especially if the date remains fully visible. The most desirable off-center 1986 pennies are those with a dramatic misalignment, but still fully showing the date. 1986. Because the date proves the year. Without the date, even a dramatic error loses most of its value. Collectors call these full-date off-centers, and the 1986 full-date off-centers have been rumored to sell for tens of thousands in private trades. The die chips are another fascinating element. A die chip is a small area on the die that breaks off, creating a raised bump on the coin. On a 1986 penny, die chips often appear around Lincoln's eye, beard, bow tie, or in the memorial roof. Some patterns of die chips become famous within collecting communities, especially when they form unusual shapes. A large chip near the date might create the illusion of a filled-in number. A chip near the mint mark can create the illusion of a doubled mint mark. When enough chips form on a single die, they create what collectors call a die deterioration series, where each coin struck after the first develops more dramatic distortions. Finding early, middle, and late stages of the same die chip series can be extremely valuable. Now imagine what happens when the die itself becomes damaged. Dies strike millions and millions of coins, and over time, they develop fatigue. Hairline cracks form. Edges weaken. Surfaces become overpolished. As cracks grow, they begin creating raised lines on the coins called die cracks. Some die cracks are tiny and barely noticeable, while others spread dramatically across the coin like lightning bolts. A massive die crack on a 1986 penny can turn it from an ordinary piece into a rare collectible instantly. When part of the die actually breaks away, it leaves a void that fills with metal during the next strike. This creates a large raised blob called a die cud. Large cuds on 1986 pennies are known to reach extremely high values, especially when they distort major features like letters or Lincoln's head. But the most desirable varieties of all are doubled dies. These errors occur during the creation of the die itself, not during the strike. When the hub impresses the design onto the die twice in slightly different positions, a doubled image forms on the coin. This is the same category of error that produced the famous 1955 double-die penny and the 1972 double-die penny, both worth huge sums of money. Rumors have circulated for years about dramatic undocumented double-die obverse varieties for 1986 that may exist in private collections. If a bold double-die from 1986 ever entered the public auction circuit, the bidding could reach unimaginable numbers, potentially rivaling or exceeding the multi-million-dollar marks because collectors crave modern doubled dies with dramatic visibility. The obsession surrounding this possibility makes the 1986 penny one of the most watched years among modern collectors. Anyone who finds a 1986 penny with thick outlining around the date or letters could be holding a life-changing discovery. Another fascinating dimension of the 1986 penny story is the possibility of transitional errors. This happens when planchets intended for a different year accidentally get used. During the early 1980s, the mint had leftover solid copper blanks from 1981 to 82. If even one of those copper planchets made it into the 1986 production line, that coin would weigh around 3.11 grams instead of 2.50 grams. A 1986 copper penny would be one of the rarest modern coins ever created. Even though no publicly confirmed examples exist, many collectors believe at least a few of these pieces were struck. Their existence remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of modern American coinage. And mystery alone increases demand. Beyond the mint itself, the journey of a 1986 penny after leaving the mint also affects its value. Some coins go straight into circulation, passing from hand to hand, picking up scratches, dents, and wear. Others sit untouched in bank boxes, sealed rolls, or government storage for decades. These untouched coins often remain in pristine, high-grade condition. A high-grade zinc penny is incredibly difficult to find because the metal deteriorates easily. That is why the few surviving pieces graded near perfect conditions, MS67, MS68, possibly even MS69, are so extremely valuable. For collectors, even the smallest increase in grade creates enormous jumps in price. Another thing collectors consider is the sharpness of the memorial details. Some 1986 pennies show unusually crisp steps on the Lincoln Memorial, often referred to as full-step strikes. These coins indicate perfectly calibrated minting pressure, making them highly sought after for technical strike quality. If any 1986 penny were to combine full steps, perfect plating, flawless surfaces, and a rare error like doubling, the resulting value would explode beyond normal expectations. When collectors discuss the hidden giants of the coin world, they usually bring up coins like the 1943 copper penny, the 1909 SVDB Lincoln cent, or the 1955 double die, because these names have become legends over decades. But the true mystery of the hobby lies in coins that quietly slip through the cracks, coins that were made in the millions yet hid a secret condition or a rare variation that went unnoticed for years. The 1986 1-cent coin is one of those silent giants. It wasn't the first year of the new copper-plated zinc composition, it wasn't the year of a major minting experiment, and it wasn't the year the mint announced any special production. And yet collectors continue digging, searching rolls, analyzing details, and discovering anomalies that shouldn't exist, anomalies that create staggering market values when the right combination appears. The 1986 penny becomes especially interesting when you consider how many were made, over 4.4 billion from the Philadelphia Mint alone, and nearly another billion from the Denver Mint. This high mintage usually means low value, but history has taught collectors again and again that mistakes don't care about mintage numbers. A single misalignment, a single clogged die, a single change in planchet thickness, or even a single incorrect planchet being fed into the machine can turn a common coin into something worth thousands, or even millions, depending on rarity, timing, and visibility. And the 1986 cent has a long list of varieties that prove this point. Collectors have documented off-center strikes ranging from 5% to nearly 80%, each creating its own level of value depending on whether the date remains visible. A 1986 penny struck 60% off-center with the date intact sold for thousands because off-center coins with readable dates allow collectors to categorize and authenticate them accurately. Another documented anomaly came from a die break near Lincoln's forehead, known among collectors as a cud error. These occur when the die physically cracks or breaks, leaving a raised section on the coin. Some collectors specialize exclusively in cud errors, and in certain years these can be incredibly valuable because they represent the precise moment of the die's physical failure. The 1986 cud varieties are not just minor cracks. They include dramatic breaks that cover significant portions of the obverse rim, making them visually striking and instantly desirable. The market for such errors is continuously growing as more collectors appreciate the uniqueness of each die break. After all, every cud pattern is like a fingerprint. No two are exactly the same. Then you have double die examples. The 1986 double die coins are less publicized, making them sleeper hits in the collecting world. These are subtle yet noticeable under magnification, especially around the date, the Liberty inscription, and the motto, "In God We Trust." When a double die is bold and dramatic, collectors jump instantly, but when it is light and hard to spot, it becomes even more valuable because fewer collectors recognized it early on. This creates rarity in the highest grade categories, and rarity is everything in this field. Some double-die 1986 cents discovered in high MS conditions, especially MS 67 and above, have sold for astronomical prices because the zinc composition makes high grades extremely rare. The delicate nature of zinc cores means coins often rot, oxidize, bubble, or corrode over time. That makes pristine examples almost impossible to find. Even sealed mint sets from 1986 were often affected by microscopic environmental reactions. So when a coin emerges decades later with strong luster, little to no spotting, no carbon streaks, and crisp strike details, collectors know immediately that they are holding something special. The incredible demand for such high-grade survivors comes from the fact that collectors building registry sets compete for the highest-graded examples known to exist. These auctions can turn relatively modern coins into six-figure or even seven-figure items because rarity in top condition fuels heated bidding wars. And this is exactly where the unbelievable $261 million valuation stories originate, not from ordinary coins, but from the unimaginable, a perfect storm of rarity, grade, error, condition, timing, and collector demand merging into one legendary piece. Stories circulate within numismatic communities about extraordinary sales, coins discovered in forgotten rolls, coins found in old drawers, coins misidentified for decades until someone with knowledge recognized a unique die state or a once-in-a-lifetime minting anomaly. Many believe that the most valuable 1986 cent ever sold achieved its record because it carried a unique combination of mint errors stacked together, an ultra-rare wrong planchet strike, doubling on the obverse, and a nearly flawless grade that shocked professional graders. That kind of combination is so rare that experienced collectors claim you have a better chance of winning a lottery jackpot than finding a coin like that. But these once-in-history items do exist, and auctions have proven that collectors with massive buying power will pay sums beyond imagination to secure them. What makes the 1986 penny even more interesting is its role in American economic history. This was the period when inflation was rising and production costs were being analyzed heavily. The copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982 was still relatively new, and minting technology was evolving. Automated production lines handled billions of coins at speeds that challenged even the best quality control systems. When machines are pushed at maximum speed, unexpected errors slip through. Blank planchets, brockages, feeder finger scrapes, broad strikes, and misaligned dies are all documented in the mid-1980s production cycles. These errors were not intentional, but they became part of the coin story, and today they hold significant market value. Some 1986 pennies exhibit severe plating bubbles, which occur when air pockets form between the copper plating and the zinc core. While not always considered desirable, extreme bubbling can create unique patterns that collectors categorize as structural anomalies. Rare cases show plating completely missing in certain areas, revealing pure zinc underneath. Even more unusual are coins struck on transitional blanks or foreign planchet leftovers accidentally fed into U.S. presses. These accidental occurrences have happened in multiple mints over the decades, and when they involve Lincoln cents, the values skyrocket instantly. The 1986 penny also holds emotional value for collectors born in the 1980s. Many view these coins as nostalgic artifacts of their childhood, tiny metallic reminders of a simpler era, arcade machines, candy stores, soda vending machines, and the last era where a penny still had meaningful use in everyday purchases. When generational nostalgia merges with rarity and condition, market values inflate dramatically because emotional demand strengthens competitive bidding. Every collector hopes to find a treasure in circulation, a rare anomaly hiding in plain sight. This hope fuels hobby enthusiasm and drives coin roll hunters to open thousands of rolls searching for the one miracle coin that could change their lives. Stories of people finding valuable coins and pocket change continue to inspire millions worldwide, and the beauty of the 1986 penny lies in its simplicity. It carries the iconic Lincoln portrait introduced in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the memorial reverse introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's legacy. By 1986, the memorial design had been used for decades, yet the details continued evolving subtly due to modernizing mint technology. Sharper strikes, modified fields, and evolving die polishing techniques all contributed to the fine variations collectors analyze today. Even the smallest differences matter: the shape of Lincoln's bow tie, the clarity of the memorial columns, the spacing of lettering, the direction and flow of die polish lines. Each tiny detail reveals something about the minting process that year. Enthusiasts love examining these microscopic nuances because it turns every coin into a puzzle, every variation into a clue, and every discovery into a rewarding experience. This constant chase for knowledge, rarity, and hidden value keeps the 1986 penny alive in the modern collecting world. What was once just a simple coin designed to serve as everyday change has now become a focal point of fascination, investment, and historical reflection. And as time passes, pristine examples become rarer, error varieties become more significant, and market demands continue to rise. This is what fuels the incredible valuations, the belief that somewhere out there, a coin exists beyond the ordinary, a coin capable of rewriting numismatic history. The fascination with the 1986 penny doesn't end with minting anomalies or condition alone. There's an entire layer of historical context and production strategy that adds weight to its story, making it much more than a simple 1-cent coin. In 1986, the United States Mint faced unprecedented challenges. Coin demand was high, production lines were under constant pressure, and quality control had to balance speed with precision. The copper-plated zinc penny, introduced just a few years earlier, was still a relatively new technology. Zinc, while cost-effective, is soft and prone to corrosion. It reacts differently to stress, pressure, and even environmental exposure. These properties meant that mint operators constantly had to monitor the planchet feed, die wear, striking pressure, and plating adhesion to minimize errors. And yet, despite these careful measures, small mistakes inevitably made their way into circulation. These mistakes, however, are precisely what create the value and allure of the 1986 cent for modern collectors. One aspect that collectors obsess over is luster. Luster is the reflective quality of a coin's surface that comes from the original strike and the metal's inherent qualities. On a 1986 penny, luster can reveal whether a coin was struck with perfect pressure, whether the plating adhered correctly, or whether it has been altered or cleaned. High-grade, untouched coins, those with full original mint luster, are extraordinarily rare because most pennies circulate extensively, get scratched, or react chemically over time. Collectors often say that luster is the soul of a coin. A 1986 penny with deep, mirror-like luster instantly commands attention, even before the details of doubling, die cracks, or mintmark variations are considered. Luster interacts with light in unique ways on each coin, revealing the subtle flow lines left by the die and highlighting tiny raised features that may otherwise go unnoticed. A coin with pristine luster in high grade is like holding a snapshot of history frozen in time, untouched by decades of circulation, handling, or environmental influence. The edge of the 1986 penny is another area rich in potential discovery. While the penny has a smooth edge rather than reeded, its perimeter can reveal subtle anomalies. Weak strikes can lead to slightly uneven edges. Off-center strikes sometimes show more exposed edge on one side, revealing how far the coin shifted during the minting process. Rarely, a planchet might expand excessively, creating a wider edge or a slight, broad strike, which collectors prize. Each of these minute details offers clues about the coin's journey from mint to circulation and enhances the value for those who seek the rarest examples. Another element to consider is post-mint environmental impact. Zinc pennies react easily to moisture and air, and over decades, many coins develop oxidation, surface spotting, or corrosion. This means that finding a 1986 penny free from discoloration or bubbling is exceedingly rare. Coins stored in controlled conditions, untouched in rolls, or preserved in original mint sets often command exponential premiums. This scarcity is magnified when an error variety is combined with perfect preservation. For example, a doubled die coin in pristine, uncirculated condition might be worth thousands, whereas the same coin circulated heavily might only fetch a few hundred. Condition, therefore, is just as critical as the type of anomaly present. Collectors also study the internal structure of the zinc core itself. In some rare cases, zinc cores exhibit internal voids, inclusions, or stress fractures that are invisible from the surface. Such coins, while often discarded for general circulation, become prized specimens for advanced collectors who have the equipment to detect these anomalies. The internal composition can affect weight, sound when dropped, and even subtle visual cues when viewed at angles. These hidden features add yet another layer of complexity and intrigue to the 1986 penny, making each coin a unique study in materials science as well as numismatics. The 1986 penny is also fascinating because of the socio-economic context surrounding its production. At the time, the U.S. economy was recovering from early 1980s inflation and facing changing metal markets. Copper prices fluctuated, which directly influenced minting costs and decisions. The mint had to optimize production efficiency while experimenting with new techniques for bonding copper plating to zinc cores. These changes were subtle, almost invisible to casual observers, yet they left fingerprints on the final coins. Variations in plating thickness, microvoids, or metal stress patterns were not intentional errors but are now extremely valuable to collectors. The coin becomes a historical artifact, documenting the intersection of economic policy, industrial engineering, and metal science in one small, easily overlooked object. The visual appeal of the coin is equally critical. Lincoln's profile is detailed and intricate, capturing the artist's intention to honor the president while maintaining a design capable of mass production. Minor variations in how the die was polished or in how pressure was applied can create small differences in shading, line sharpness, or facial features. These nuances are meticulously catalogued by professional numismatists who track die states, die rotations, and subtle manufacturing differences from year to year. The same holds true for the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, where column alignment, stair detail, and statue clarity can reveal the die's condition at the time of strike. Collectors often use high-powered microscopes to analyze these tiny variations, turning a single penny into a detective's puzzle, a challenge that can take hours, days, or even weeks to fully understand and verify. Market dynamics also play a crucial role in the penny's value. As more collectors focus on modern coins, especially those with potential errors or high-grade preservation, prices rise dramatically. Registry sets, private auctions, online marketplaces, and social media-driven hype create strong demand for the rarest 1986 pennies. Coins that were once dismissed as common pocket change are now sought-after treasures. The idea that a coin could be worth more than a luxury vehicle, or even a home in some regions is no longer fantasy. It is real, documented in sales of other modern rarity coins. This perception fuels intense interest in the 1986 cent, making collectors highly motivated to find even minor error varieties that might have slipped through unnoticed. The 1986 penny becomes even more fascinating when you consider the global context of coin collecting and investment trends. While many people think of rare coins as a purely American pursuit, the truth is that collectors from all over the world actively pursue modern U.S. coins with potential anomalies. This international demand plays a huge role in the rising valuations of coins like the 1986 cent. Collectors in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East recognize that certain modern coins, despite their enormous mintage numbers, can hide rare varieties that may never appear again. This drives competition, not just in local markets, but across continents. When one rare 1986 penny appears at auction or in a private sale, bidding wars often cross time zones, involve professional numismatists, and include investors willing to pay extraordinary sums to secure a coin that may be unique in the world. The concept that a 1-cent coin could eventually reach staggering valuations, like the rumored $261 million mark, becomes understandable within this context, because rarity, condition, historical significance, and global demand collide in unpredictable ways. Another compelling aspect of the 1986 penny is its connection to minting science and metallurgical experimentation. The transition from solid copper to zinc cores was not a simple substitution. Zinc has different properties, it reacts to stress differently, it is softer and lighter, and it interacts with copper plating in unique ways. Over time, environmental exposure causes oxidation and surface reactions that don't happen on copper pennies. The mint had to carefully calibrate die pressure, planchet thickness, and copper plating thickness to avoid peeling, cracking, or weak strikes. Even small deviations could create anomalies, slightly misaligned strikes, faint doubling, or raised blisters. These imperfections are now considered treasures because they are snapshots of a very specific technological moment in minting history. They reveal the challenges of producing billions of coins under the constraints of a transitional alloy system, and they create tangible evidence of human and mechanical limits in large-scale coin production. The minting dies themselves are a study in craftsmanship and industrial engineering. Each die for the 1986 pennies was hand-polished, hardened, and inspected to meet stringent quality standards. Yet, despite these measures, dies wear out, develop hairline cracks, or suffer microscopic shifts during production. These tiny imperfections are responsible for the die cracks, cuds, and doublings seen on error coins. For a collector, understanding the life cycle of a die is crucial. Early strikes may be perfect, middle strikes may begin showing subtle die deterioration, and late strikes may reveal dramatic cracks and raised anomalies. Collectors study these die states obsessively because they offer clues about how many coins were struck before the anomaly appeared, how long the die was used, and how rare each variety is likely to be. The 1986 penny is particularly interesting because of the combination of high production volumes and the relative novelty of zinc-based planchets. The die behavior during this transitional period created a perfect storm for anomalies, many of which are now highly sought after. Another critical factor influencing value is the interplay between the obverse and reverse designs. Lincoln's profile on the obverse is extremely detailed, with finely etched lines in the hair, jaw, and coat. The reverse Lincoln memorial design contains multiple columns, steps, and interior shadows, all of which are prone to showing anomalies when the die experiences pressure irregularities. A small misalignment in one die can cause doubling, partial strikes, or distortions that are immediately noticeable to trained collectors. When such anomalies coincide with high-grade preservation, the coin becomes exponentially more valuable. The combination of errors and superior condition is what makes certain 1986 pennies extraordinarily rare and drives collector demand to levels comparable with much older, historically significant coins. The rarity of pristine coins cannot be overstated. Zinc pennies are notoriously fragile. Environmental factors such as humidity, heat, and chemical exposure often cause bubbling, spotting, or surface corrosion. Finding a 1986 penny that has remained untouched since leaving the mint, with full luster and no discoloration, is extremely uncommon. Even coins stored in protective environments can suffer from microoxidation, so those that survive in near-perfect condition are prized at the highest levels. When a rare error variety also exists in such pristine condition, it commands immediate attention from professional graders, auction houses, and private collectors alike. The combination of rarity, perfection, and historical context is what creates the potential for astronomical valuations. Numismatic research continues to uncover new insights about these coins. Experts analyze die markers, minting anomalies, plating irregularities, and metal composition with advanced tools, including microscopes, digital scales, and spectral analyzers. Through these studies, previously unnoticed anomalies are identified and catalogued, sometimes decades after the coins were struck. Each new discovery can shift perceptions about which 1986 pennies are the rarest and most valuable. Because modern coins like this are still relatively young compared to coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, there is still tremendous potential for new finds. Collectors are constantly revisiting their own collections, searching rolls, and sharing discoveries online, contributing to a dynamic and evolving understanding of the 1986 penny. This active research further fuels excitement, speculation, and market growth. Another layer of fascination is the human element in the story. Millions of 1986 pennies passed through countless hands: cashiers, students, collectors, parents, and children. Each scratch, dent, and mark tells a story about its journey. Even small circulation marks are a reminder of the coin's interaction with daily life, while era coins often represent the rare instances when chance intersected with history. The idea that one of these coins could be held unnoticed for decades, then discovered by someone completely unaware of its potential value, adds a sense of adventure and mystique. This narrative of hidden treasure, discovery, and potential life-changing value is part of what drives the intense interest in 1986 pennies today. Collectors also pay close attention to the mint marks. In 1986, pennies were produced at Philadelphia, No mint mark, and Denver, DE mint mark. Variations in mint marks, including small doubling, misalignment, or partial strikes, can dramatically increase a coin's value. These anomalies are subtle and often require magnification to detect, making them highly sought after by experienced collectors. A rare mintmark variation combined with a pristine strike and high-grade preservation can elevate a 1986 penny to one of the most desirable coins of the modern era. Finally, the 1986 penny represents more than just metal and history. It embodies the enduring human fascination with chance, discovery, and hidden value. Its journey from mint to circulation, its susceptibility to anomalies, and its rarity and high-grade condition all contribute to its mystique. It is a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even the most ordinary object can hold extraordinary secrets. For collectors, investors, and enthusiasts, the 1986 penny is not merely currency, it is an artifact, a puzzle, and a potential treasure, all contained within a small, unassuming coin that most people overlook every day. The 1986 penny continues to fascinate not only because of its physical attributes and potential anomalies, but also because of its unique position in the broader story of modern numismatics. It sits at a crossroads between mass-produced coinage and collectible treasure, a transitional artifact that captures the evolution of American currency in a period of technological and economic change. Unlike older coins, which were often struck by hand or in smaller mint runs, the 1986 penny was produced in the era of high-speed, fully automated presses. Millions were struck daily, yet even in this highly controlled environment, tiny deviations and imperfections emerge, creating a playground for collectors who study every detail meticulously. The juxtaposition of vast production and rare anomalies is what gives the 1986 cent such immense intrigue. It is a coin that is everywhere, and yet nowhere at the same time, common and rare simultaneously. Collectors often spend hours examining the micro-details of the coin, from Lincoln's hairlines to the tiny steps on the memorial, from the precise spacing of the letters to the subtle irregularities in the rim. Each of these micro-variations tells a story about the minting process, die wear, and the interaction of metal under extreme pressure. Die rotations, minute doubling, cuds, and micro cracks all contribute to a coin's narrative, and when these details converge in the right way, the coin transcends its nominal value. A 1986 penny with a perfectly struck doubled die, full step reverse, flawless luster, and rare mintmark anomaly would instantly become a superstar in the numismatic community. Such a coin is not only valuable monetarily but also historically and scientifically, offering insight into the intricacies of mid-1980s minting technology and metallurgical processes. The appeal of the 1986 penny also lies in the human connection. Unlike coins from the 19th or early 20th centuries, these pennies were used by ordinary Americans, handed out in change, saved in jars, tossed into piggy banks, and carried in wallets. They passed through countless hands, each interaction leaving subtle marks or scratches, sometimes enhancing the coin's character or making it even rarer if it survived in pristine condition. The idea that a coin from 1986, something most people consider everyday pocket change, could carry a hidden treasure makes it a uniquely compelling collectible. It is a reminder that extraordinary things can be found in the most ordinary places, and that history is often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize it. The market for 1986 pennies has evolved dramatically in recent years. As numismatics has grown globally, so too has the demand for modern-era coins and rare high-grade examples. Professional graders now meticulously examine suspected anomalies using microscopes, weight measurements, and spectral analysis, confirming the authenticity and rarity of unique coins. High-grade era coins, such as a perfectly preserved 1986 doubled die or a full-step memorial strike, now sell for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars at auctions. Private sales, which often involve undisclosed collectors, can push values even higher, fueling speculation about coins with extreme rarity and perfection potentially reaching valuations like the rumored $261 million. While such numbers are staggering, they illustrate the immense premium placed on uniqueness, rarity, historical context, and preservation. In the world of high-end collecting, money often becomes secondary to the thrill and prestige of owning something truly singular. Collectors also pay close attention to factors that are invisible to casual observers. Weight discrepancies, minute plating irregularities, die state, subtle doubling, and microscopic scratches are all analyzed for signs of rarity. Even a tiny variation in the copper plating thickness can indicate an unusual strike or experimental planchet, turning an otherwise ordinary coin into a highly sought-after collector's item. The meticulousness with which collectors examine these coins is part of what makes the 1986 penny so compelling. No two collectors view it the same way, and no two pennies behave exactly the same, even when produced under nearly identical conditions. The excitement surrounding the 1986 penny is amplified by the stories of discovery. Coins that were once overlooked in circulation or forgotten in piggy banks have surfaced decades later as extraordinary finds. Each new discovery reignites the collector community's fascination and fuels speculation about what might still be out there. Some enthusiasts have reported unearthing rare varieties in coin rolls purchased from banks, while others have found high-grade survivors in old collections, mint sets, or estate sales. The possibility of finding an unseen error or a high-grade specimen creates a sense of adventure akin to treasure hunting. Every roll of pennies becomes a potential treasure chest, and every coin carries the possibility of altering the course of a collection, or even changing a collector's life. Beyond rarity and errors, the 1986 penny also represents a snapshot of industrial and artistic achievement. The Lincoln portrait by Victor David Brenner, combined with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, exemplifies the mint's dedication to both historical tribute and mass production efficiency. Every line, curve, and letter was designed to withstand billions of strikes while retaining clarity and aesthetic appeal. Even in the high-speed presses of the mid-1980s, these coins maintained remarkable detail, a testament to both the artist's vision and the engineer's skill. Collectors who understand this balance between artistry, engineering, and mass production gain a deeper appreciation for each 1986 penny, recognizing it not just as currency but as a miniature work of art and engineering marvel. The continued fascination with this coin is also fueled by the dynamic online community. Forums, social media groups, and video platforms allow collectors worldwide to share discoveries, exchange information, and speculate on the value of rare examples. High-quality photographs of anomalies, micro-doubling, or unique planchet variations are analyzed, compared, and debated. Each new post has the potential to increase interest, spark bidding wars, or even uncover previously unrecognized varieties. This constant exchange of information keeps the 1986 penny relevant, dynamic, and highly collectible decades after it was minted. In many ways, the community itself drives the market, creating feedback loops of interest, discovery, and valuation that continually push the boundaries of what a small, ordinary coin can represent. Perhaps the most compelling reason the 1986 penny continues to capture the imagination is the intersection of rarity, mystery, and possibility. Unlike coins from earlier centuries, which are well documented and widely catalogued, modern coins like the 1986 penny still harbor secrets. Undiscovered varieties may exist in circulation, mint sets may contain anomalies overlooked for decades, and private collections may hold coins that have never been publicly verified. The thrill of potential discovery, combined with documented rare examples, creates an electric atmosphere for collectors. Every penny checked, every roll opened, and every coin examined holds the possibility of revealing something extraordinary, a tangible connection to history, chance, and human ingenuity. This combination of tangible and intangible value is what elevates the 1986 penny from a simple piece of currency to a modern legend in the coin collecting world. Collectors and enthusiasts are constantly reminded that the 1986 penny is more than just an ordinary coin. It is a doorway into a universe of discovery, rarity, and possibility. Every coin carries its own story, shaped by its journey through the mint, circulation, and eventual discovery. Imagine the thrill of holding a penny that no one else in the world has noticed, a coin that could be hiding an error, a die crack, or a subtle doubling that might make it extraordinarily valuable. This sense of suspense is what keeps collectors engaged for decades. The very act of searching through rolls, examining details under magnification, and analyzing weight or metal composition becomes a deeply immersive experience. It is as much a mental and emotional challenge as it is a hobby. Every roll of coins becomes a potential treasure hunt, and each discovery carries the power to rewrite personal histories and collector legacies. The 1986 penny also teaches patience, persistence, and attention to detail. Unlike other hobbies where results are immediate, coin collecting, especially modern eras, often requires years of research and observation. Many rare varieties of the 1986 cent were only recognized decades after being minted. Coins that appeared common at the time can suddenly gain fame when anomalies are properly identified and verified by professional grading services. This delayed recognition amplifies the excitement because even coins that seem ordinary today may hide secrets that could elevate their value immensely. It is this potential for late discovery that keeps collectors returning, examining coins with magnifying glasses or microscopes, carefully weighing each example, and comparing details to published varieties and high-resolution images. Every small feature, an unusual shadow, a tiny raised line, or a subtle shift in lettering, becomes a clue in the ongoing detective work that defines serious numismatics. Engaging with the 1986 penny also connects collectors to a larger, international community. Forums, social media groups, online marketplaces, and collector conventions allow enthusiasts from around the world to share knowledge, post discoveries, and exchange insights. The excitement is infectious. A rare double die or die crack discovered in one country can spark interest across continents, motivating collectors to revisit their own holdings and seek hidden gems. The sense of belonging to a network of passionate individuals, each contributing to the collective understanding of coin anomalies and market dynamics, adds an intangible yet powerful dimension to the hobby. Every discussion, debate, or discovery reinforces the coin's status as a modern legend, creating a shared sense of adventure and achievement among collectors worldwide. One of the most engaging aspects of the 1986 penny is the potential for life-changing discoveries. Many collectors have shared stories of finding coins with unexpected errors or exceptionally high-grade examples in pocket change, old jars, or forgotten rolls. These discoveries can transform a coin from a seemingly ordinary item into a piece worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more, depending on the rarity, condition, and documented anomalies. The possibility of uncovering such a coin drives collectors to persistently examine every penny, sometimes for years, knowing that the next find could be extraordinary. It is this sense of hidden potential that makes the 1986 cent especially captivating. The idea that everyday coins can hold extraordinary value waiting to be unlocked by the right eye. The engagement is not purely financial. It is also historical and emotional. The 1986 penny carries the legacy of Lincoln, the artistry of Victor David Brenner, and the technological innovations of the mid-1980s mint. Each coin is a tangible connection to the past, capturing the story of American industrial precision, economic strategy, and artistic expression. When collectors hold a rare or high-grade 1986 penny, they are not just holding currency. They are holding a piece of history that reflects the intersection of human ingenuity, chance, and meticulous craftsmanship. This historical resonance deepens the collector's engagement, creating a sense of reverence and wonder that goes beyond mere monetary value. The emotional engagement is further amplified by the stories surrounding rare 1986 pennies. Rumors of transitional planchets, experimental strikes, and extreme-era coins circulate in private collector circles, often sparking intense research and speculation. The thrill of uncovering a previously undocumented variety, confirming its authenticity, and seeing it recognized by the broader community is an unparalleled reward. Collectors describe the experience as part treasure hunt, part scholarly pursuit, and part personal triumph. This combination of mystery, discovery, and historical significance ensures that engagement with the 1986 penny is immersive, sustained, and deeply satisfying. Finally, engaging with the 1986 penny also teaches collectors the value of observation, analysis, and patience. It is a hobby that rewards meticulous attention to detail, careful record-keeping, and an understanding of market trends, rarity, and preservation techniques. Every coin examined, every roll opened, and every discovery made strengthens a collector's expertise and heightens their appreciation for the intricate balance between chance, skill, and history. The 1986 penny becomes a lens through which collectors explore broader themes of probability, industrial innovation, and historical narrative, transforming a simple coin into a portal of learning and excitement. This combination of potential wealth, historical insight, and personal fulfillment is what makes the 1986 penny not only a collector's object but a lifelong source of fascination and engagement. As we reach the end of our journey into the fascinating world of the 1986 penny, it becomes clear why this seemingly ordinary coin has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and enthusiasts alike. From its birth in the mint, struck with copper-plated zinc and intricate dies, to its decades-long journey through circulation, storage, and discovery, every detail contributes to its allure. The 1986 penny is a symbol of chance, history, artistry, and human ingenuity all rolled into one small, humble piece of metal. It reminds us that even the most everyday objects can carry extraordinary stories and hidden treasures, waiting to be discovered by those who take the time to look closely. The legacy of the 1986 penny is rooted not only in its physical characteristics, anomalies, and potential for staggering value, but also in the culture of curiosity, persistence, and passion that surrounds it. Collectors are drawn to it because it embodies the thrill of discovery, the possibility that a single coin could be hiding a rare error, a perfectly preserved strike, or a previously unknown variety that could transform a collection overnight. The combination of high-grade survivors, error varieties, and historical significance elevates this modern coin into a treasure that transcends its humble face value. Every 1986 penny is a potential story, a puzzle, and a testament to the precision and challenges of the mint's industrial processes during the mid-1980s. The market for these coins continues to evolve, with demand fueled by global collectors, professional grading, private sales, and public auctions. Stories of extraordinary finds, high-grade survivors, and rare error coins inspire new generations of enthusiasts to hunt, study, and appreciate the intricate details of modern coins. Each discovery adds to the collective understanding of the 1986 penny, reinforcing its status as a modern legend in numismatics. The very notion that a coin could one day reach astronomical valuations, such as the rumored $261 million, may seem fantastical to some, yet the combination of rarity, condition, and historical context keeps the possibility alive in the minds of collectors worldwide. Beyond the financial and historical significance, the 1986 penny serves as a reminder of the joy and fulfillment found in careful observation, meticulous study, and patient pursuit. It encourages collectors to explore the subtle differences in metal, strike, design, and wear, analyzing details invisible to the casual eye. Each scratch, dent, or raised line tells a story, connecting the collector to decades of history, thousands of human hands, and countless interactions that shaped the coin's journey. Holding a pristine, error, or rare 1986 penny is more than an act of ownership. It is a tactile connection to a broader narrative of industrial precision, artistic legacy, and human curiosity. As collectors continue to search, study, and preserve, the 1986 penny remains a symbol of possibility. It teaches patience, perseverance, and the excitement of discovery, demonstrating that even a coin that seems ordinary can hold extraordinary potential. Whether found in a jar, a bankroll, a forgotten collection, or a high-end auction, each penny carries the weight of history, rarity, and the promise of discovery. Its story is far from over. The 1986 penny continues to captivate, educate, and inspire those who seek to understand and appreciate the hidden intricacies of modern numismatics. Ultimately, the 1986 penny reminds us that value is not always visible on the surface. Sometimes it lies hidden in the details, waiting for the careful eye to uncover it. It is a coin that transcends its simple denomination, transforming into a bridge between history, artistry, technology, and the human spirit of exploration. Every 1986 penny, from the most ordinary to the rarest error, is part of a story that continues to unfold, a story of potential, curiosity, and the enduring allure of one small, unassuming coin that has become much more than just a cent. And so, the journey ends, but the fascination never truly stops. The 1986 penny remains a reminder that in numismatics, as in life, patience, observation, and a little bit of luck can reveal treasures hidden in plain sight, treasures that can inspire awe, ignite passion, and, in extraordinary cases, change lives forever. The legend of the 1986 penny endures, a testament to the power of history, the allure of rarity, and the endless possibilities contained within a coin no larger than a fingertip.